Alrighty, welcome to week 3, Tuesday. I'm Colonel Peoples from Prescott, Arizona. I'm covering today the Wright Brothers and the Vietnam War from the Air Force perspective. In your aerospace science book, you should be covering Chapter 1, Lesson 1, which is the Wright Brothers. I believe it starts on page 30, is that right?
Yes, sir.
And then Chapter 6, Lesson 2, which is the portion on Vietnam War for the Air Force. This is what we'll be doing in preparation for next week. We actually have a Vietnam veteran, Lieutenant Colonel Dick Jonas, coming to talk to us for all 3 lessons, actually, Monday, Tuesday, and Thursday. Cadet McGee, why don't you start off the class, please?
Judgment flight. That's hut. Element 1, report.
I'm representing Count 4, sir.
Element 2, report.
Element 2, all present and accounted for, sir.
Pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. See.
Alrighty, the rest of the week, once we finish recording this lesson, we'll be covering the aviation. We had the Leadership Lab 3 last night. It went excellent for the students coming in from Ashford, Seligman, Sedona, and Rimrock. Next, actually we had 2 cadets there this time. Cadet Johnston, Cadet Barr, appreciate you coming. Worked out well. There was a lot of rain last night in Prescott, which allowed us to get real wet and have a lot of flexibility on that. But next Monday, which is the 27th of August, we have Leadership Lab 4, and we have planned the Honor Guard introductory as well as our classroom performance system intro. We'll be testing on that the 10th of September. We'll be going through these two chapters, testing on the Wright Brothers in the Vietnam War, straight out of the book, straight out of our curriculum, as well as our leadership education book, LE1, Chapter 4. It'll be Lesson 1 and 2, test on the 10th of September. That's the Monday after Labor Day. Okay? So I appreciate everybody coming for that, working it out. Today we're going to go ahead and press on with our introductory to the Wright Brothers and Vietnam War. Any kind of aviation class, of course, needs to start with the Wright Brothers. Does anybody have any idea when the first flight manned flight was? What year?
1904, sir.
1903. Okay, 1903. Right off of page 30 there in your book. That's exactly right. And what was the significance of the Wright Brothers? Cadet Overton, what was so special about them? They invented the plane. Minor detail. They invented the plane. Actually, before inventing the plane, they were doing kites. Literally stuff you hold and fly. And some very famous people died doing that and kind of motivated them. Yes, sir?
They also work in the bike shop, sir, so they understand how gears lock together and work as well.
I thought they went to Massachusetts Institute of Technology. Weren't they aeronautical engineers? Were they aeronautical engineers? I mean, they're very educated, right?
But they work in the bike shop too. Bike shop, their family owns, sir.
Exactly. I'm just kidding you. This Colonel is kidding you. No, they're uneducated people. They did not have the formal education that a lot of people had at the time. They did not go to college. One of them was very smart and wanted to go to Yale University. Didn't have money, had to take care of his mom, and got home. The mother was very, very inventive and creative. The dad was a hard worker, but he didn't have as much creativity as the mom. This is pretty much how the Wright Brothers succeeded. They truly are one of my famous heroes because they came up not only with one invention, but quite a few that everybody else had failed in. And just what you had said, Cadet Carroll, being at the most neatest technology of the era of the year. Let's see, what's the coolest technology now? 3D TV, okay, or 3D game system. They were doing that with the bike shop. The bike shop was the neatest, coolest invention of the 1900s was the bike. And so they were right on the edge of technology. And with that, they were able to get up in the air and stay up and control the plane. And through this chapter and throughout your Thursday lesson, you're going to learn the techniques they used to make all this happen. They started with a glider. Okay, that was the most fun they could possibly have had. And actually, if you look on page 33 in your book, you'll see the manned gliders that they actually had so that they could figure out the control of the airfoils in the wind. And then they would have said, hey, we'll worry about an engine or power later on. This was the first step. It was an unmanned box kite. They would literally build something as big as y'all's tables there, 30 and 40 feet apart, and go out and try to fly it outside in their area of Ohio. They actually had a prairie called Hoffman Prairie, and they would actually go out in this big flat area and fly it and see how it works. In studying the box kite, they found out that they needed only to twist the ends of the wings to turn the craft, called wing warping. And one of my favorite stories about the Wright Flyers is, of course, they were in the high-tech industry of bicycles at the time. And they actually, bicycles had tubes in their tires, right? And the tubes came in big, long, flat boxes, just like this. You know, you can envision that, big, long, flat boxes. And one day when they were in their bike shop and somebody like that, Garrett, came and said, hey, can I have a tube? They were sitting there playing with the box, just like this, playing with the box. And all of a sudden they go, you know what? If I were to actually turn a wing like this, like the bike box, then that would be wing warping. That would actually change the shape of the wings so that you could have control on the aircraft. So a lot of times these innovations they had, if you had never been a bike manufacturer and had the box that the tube was included in, you may not have come up with these innovations. They ended up testing that kite, and it worked out. And then later on, they started to put 3 gliders with someone in it. They need to be able to test control and lift after that. And they kept testing the gliders before they put anybody in it. Nobody died in their testing, which is pretty amazing, because they had some very famous people previously, in particular, Lilienthal, and some other very famous scientists died while they were testing their gliders. The Wright brothers did not have this problem. So, earlier experiments taught them that they needed to be able to climb and descend, how to design the wing to control it, and then how large the wings had to be to support a human being, as well as the power plant. Believe it or not, they started off by writing the Smithsonian Institute and said, please send me as much information about aviation as they had. That's how they started. But the people in Washington, D.C. laughed at the Wright brothers. A bunch of, no offense, they're like Navarro and Johnston from Prescott, Arizona. They don't know anything about it at all. They're from a small little town, and they're bike mechanics. They're not educated. They're not paid by the government to do this. And everybody laughed at them and thought they would never be able to succeed. They ended up having different gliders, okay, not just kites, but gliders, and they found it easier to control. Look at the bottom point there of the slide. It was easier to control when the elevator was in front of their position. So if you actually look there on the page, bottom of page 35, you'll see their glider is kind of different than the way we ended up having the airplanes now. You have the tail behind the aircraft, but in the first glider they had, can't you see the elevator is actually in front of the aircraft. That was kind of, they had the same concept, but it's just a little different how they ended up working it out. Airfoil. What makes you fly? I talked about this in my Science of Flight class, which I think some of you guys have taken, but basically an airfoil, the miracle of flight, let's see, I'll erase some of this. The miracle of flight, to me, is not, the miracle of flight is not the wind beneath your wings like some crazy songs that I'm not going to sing for the audience here. Thank you very much, Colonel. But to me, the miracle of flight is actually the wind above your wings. Okay? So if you actually have wind coming in, there is a scientist that hundreds of years earlier discovered a principle that said if you actually have a closed area and you have wind coming in, when the distance wind travels is longer than the shorter distance, the wind goes over your airfoil here versus here, and it ends up here at the same time, this distance going farther has to be faster. And the faster that air flows, the lower pressure you have. So for an airfoil, okay, you're looking at it, an airfoil being your wings, or a propeller, or your hand sticking out of a car. If you're sticking your hand out of the car like this and you shape it, all of a sudden it'll pop up. That is showing that the wind going across your hand or an airfoil, the faster the wind goes, the lower the pressure. So on an airfoil, from Bernoulli's principle, which was indicated in here, this air right in here is going faster and it has lower pressure. Okay? So the air on top of the airfoil has low pressure. And the area down here has higher pressure. And again, the miracle of flight that the Wright brothers truly figured out was that, guess what? Low pressure sucks. Okay? Low pressure causes everything to go up. And when you get the certain amount of flow of air, there'll be lower pressure here, higher pressure under here, and you start to fly. So again, back to the song, you are the wind beneath my wings. Well, you know what? The miracle of flight is not the wind below. To me, the miracle is figuring out that there's low pressure above the airfoil, and that's what allows you to fly. That's exactly what you're seeing here, and causing the stability of the airflow. Yes, go ahead, Carol.
Isn't it the higher you go into the air, sir, the more elevation you have, the less air pressure? Is that kind of what's being demonstrated?
No.
No?
It gets a little more complicated than that, which we can cover right now. But basically, that has to do with the angle of attack, and again, the density of aircraft. If you look here, actually on page, you can see, top of page 34, with the pictures you have of the different airfoils, you will realize that the center of pressure is what actually causes the aircraft to be lifted, depending on whether or not you have low pressure or high pressure above the aircraft. They ended up testing the, excuse me, I'm trying to get the, you guys are not seeing the screen here. I love that. Technical difficulties. So you guys are not seeing the screen. God, I love this technology. Oh well, we'll keep talking. After the first glider, they ended up going to Kill Devil Hills, North Carolina. Where's Kill Devil Hills, North Carolina? Anybody know? USA? That's true. That's true. Let's see. No, that's not working. I love this technology. I love this technology so much. Kill Devil Hills is actually in North Carolina. And I have a great thing to show you on Google Earth. And it is not working. Oh well, we'll keep going. I'll tell you what, I can draw you a picture just as easy. Kill Devil Hills is out in the Outer Banks of North Carolina. Why did they select this place? That's hysterical. Why?
Because it's a big hill.
Because it's a big hill. That's true. There's a big sand dune. It's out here on the actually called the Outer Banks of North Carolina. North Carolina comes in on the Outer Banks of North Carolina is a string of islands, and Kill Devil's Hill is right here.